Hello, how is everyone? I am here getting ready to speak with Keto Katrina. I'm just waiting for her to join us. Let me see if I can get my other device to work. Oh gosh, I'm upside down. I think maybe this is gonna be backwards. So hold on one second. Let me ask her. Let me just let her know she's here. I don't see any requests. Let me see. Any questions? No. Any requests from... Okay. Okay, she is having technical difficulties. Thanks for joining. I just wanted to let you know that I have turned off the comments because we are going to be having a very lively discussion of Katrina's story here. Let's see if it works, and then I can take off my glasses. Hello, we're here.
Hello. I had to figure out how to join.
Yeah. Well, I was like, wait a minute. Oh, let me turn that off too. Hold on. Turn off requests. Okay, I've turned off the commenting and the requests. I want to start because I'm technologically inept a bit with pictures of you from before and after right now. So can we just start with that? I'm going to pray that what I'm doing this works out. So this, wait. Hold on. This is Katrina before and after. I hope you can see that without too much glare.
It's not too bad.
That is, this is her. Hold on, maybe if I put it low. This is her before, and obviously you can see what she looks like now. And then this is, oh, wait, hold on. I got to switch to the next picture. All right, it's all a learning.
I know. I'm like, how do you share? I know how to share a screen in Zoom, but I don't know you can share a screen anywhere else.
Yeah. So this is, I didn't plan. I've never sat in, I have a guest house that I call my girl cave, and I don't ever open the windows, but today I thought I could use the light would be helpful. And
oh, that's a great angle. That's good. Great light. No glare. Right there.
So
you can see my legs.
Are her legs before in the white pants, and then after, obviously, in the skirt. You can even just check out even her feet and the difference in
well, in the ankle cuff. The ankle cuff is still there,
cuff.
people. Don't think that has disappeared. It's just much smaller.
Right. So anyway, maybe we can show it again toward the end, but I just don't know if I will be able to get it up easily again. So let's just go. Let's just go with that. So I have a little rickety situation.
Oh, there we go. I was going to say, is it me? Did my thing go away?
I have a little rickety way that I'm holding up the phone. So I was too lazy to go and get the, okay, all right.
There we go.
So let me just start by saying that for me, and I had completely forgotten about this till the other day, but Katrina is actually the way that I found out that there was even any such thing as lipedema. And the way that I found that out is a friend was telling me about her keto and different coaches that were available for keto. And she mentioned that Keto Katrina. Now that I think about it, I wonder if she thought reading your story that I had it. I never thought of that till right now. I bet you she did. Oh, now I really have to call her. Anyway, that is really funny because you know how it's very difficult. You're always in a quandary to know should you tell
Yes.
someone or not or what. And for me, the only thing that I've found, I've done three different things this year. I had my modeling business card that I was like, oh, I need some ladies to follow me. Can I, are you on social media? Could I give you my card? And so I did that like about three times last year. And then kind of in passing, I told a couple of other people like, oh, I've really started to get heavy into Instagram because I'm trying to advocate for this disease that I have and blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of like, oh, but like with it over their head, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, oh my gosh, maybe that was it. In any case, so
Maybe.
I read Katrina's bio because she also does keto coaching. And I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh my Lord, this is me. This is exactly me. And that's how my journey began. But we're not here to hear about my journey. We're here to hear about Katrina's journey because she is a true veteran in all of this. So let's hear what she has to say. I think, can you move your phone a little tiny? Because I feel like, yes, perfect. Okay.
That's just me. I like to lean.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Okay, so let me see if I can just tell you guys about me for those who don't know. My name is Katrina Harris. I live in the metro Atlanta area. I have two daughters that are in college, and I'm married almost 25 years, and I will be 50 next month. And I have dieted for 40 years. 40 years of dieting. So in dieting for 40 years, I got myself all the way up to 400 plus pounds and was never successful at doing anything for very long. And mostly because it would make me just want to binge. It really triggered a lot of addiction type behaviors in me. And then, I blamed a lot on my German peasant stock, or this is just the way that I am, or, ancestry did this to me, or it's not me, it's not anything else. And I never heard the word lipedema at all. And so when I found keto, it really was wonderful for me because for the first time ever, I felt like my appetite was under control. And I didn't cheat, which was also the first time I ever did that. So doing keto and sticking to it and being, pretty strict with it because I could tell the difference when I did things like sweeteners and things like that, it never made me feel good. So I didn't do any of that kind of stuff just for my own reasons, no other reason. And then through that, I probably lost in about 18 months, about 180 pounds.
Perfect.
And I regularly posted to Instagram, showing my story. And someone commented on one of my pictures, your legs look like mine. Do you have lipedema? And my first reaction is, what's that? And so Google and I had a little chat and I looked it up. And my first thought was, this is me. No wonder my legs don't change. No wonder my waist gets tinier and tinier and my legs, nothing happens here. So in part of this journey, I started going to the gym and worked out with a personal trainer. And every month she would take my measurements for me. And there's this one time I just remember thinking, this is insane. And this really does define lipedema. So she was doing my measurements. I lost 1.5 inches off my neck.
in
and
1 month.
a quarter inch off my hips. I'm like, my neck
Which
is just fine.
I imagine it's probably in her purview, it's probably the opposite for
Right.
normal fat, right? I mean,
Right.
people aren't losing an inch and a half off of their neck, but they
Their
are
neck.
off of the thigh.
Right. Or their
Yeah,
waist or whatever. And I think the one of like very much a generalization is where you want it gone most is where it's gone last. So,
right.
I mean, like I have clients that are type 2 diabetics that definitely don't have lipedema, that very much have that apple shape, and their stomach is the last place to go. They lose in their legs because their legs are thin already.
Right, right,
So, I
right,
mean, it's not just lipedema ladies that deal with this fact that where you want it gone most is where it's the toughest to get rid of.
right.
But anyway, after I was told this, that I, probably had lipedema, I just started doing research. And because I live in the Atlanta metro area, we have a well-known lipedema plastic surgeon who lives here. And I went to her for confirmation on, is this lipedema? Although I will say that lipedema is probably the only or one of the very few diseases you can really just diagnose yourself. That there's no blood test or anything. It is what you look like and how you, it's a palpative, so how your skin feels
Right.
and what you, how you present to the world. That is how it's diagnosed. So I don't even know that it's necessary for people to get confirmation. But
Yeah.
I, at the time, didn't realize that and got confirmation that yes, I have it. I love when Dr. Eicher told you, is there any question?
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Emily Eicher is who diagnosed me after I had read Katrina's story, looked at over a few month period, I looked at a bunch of different websites and I was like, oh, this is totally me, but was lucky enough to have Dr. Emily Eicher here to be able to go into. And so when I
Yeah.
went in, I had self-referred and she said, oh, what are you here for? And I said, well, I'm here to see if I have lipedema. And she said, is there a question? And I was like, well, I thought indeed I should see the expert. And she was like, oh, yes, honey, no question. You're classic.
Right.
Okay,
But once I had the word attached to it, for me, it was very freeing because it helped me to temper my expectations that I was never, without surgical intervention, which I am personally not interested in, I am never going to have ankles. I know that my legs are not going to look like a regular person's. I'm a regular person, but they're not going to look, like a mom. They're just not. They're not ever, no matter how much I'm in the gym, no matter how much weight I lose, they're not going to change there. And it's, I really don't like that whole campaign of it's not your fault, but part of it isn't. And that really does help me to know what I can and can't do and have a reason for it.
right,
And Beth and I were talking the other day, and one of the things I'm so thankful for is that I found keto first, because I would never have tried keto. I probably would have never done another diet again ever, because part of the lipedema culture is you can't do anything about it with diet and exercise. And I'm here to tell you there's a lot you can do about it. You are not going to cure it, but you will be able to manage it and reverse it, and make a world of difference in your everyday life.
yeah. Certainly manage the progression. Certainly
Yes.
at the early stages, maybe you can reverse it and you can halt the progression for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know people who have done that for 30 years. They've
Right.
walked the straight and narrow and they've done every possible, self-care that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you that it's not my fault. I think lends to give people license to think that, well, if they do just, they can do just whatever. And I'm actually one of those people. I was actually very straight and narrow before I got my diagnosis. And then after I got my diagnosis, I managed to, I've gained between 20, I think, uh, what did I see last night? It's just like 25 pounds, 25 pounds, depending on the day, 25 pounds, simply because I started eating things that I never ate for like 15 years. I never ate these
Mm.
things for 15 years. And now I've dabbled in them and my body doesn't like it. So I knew it wasn't going to like it because I knew that from before. And I just proved that that was right. So,
Right.
um, you know, um, yeah,
Yeah, I
so
think a
it,
lot of us just have no idea how good we're meant to feel.
true, true. Yes, yes. And
And
I'm sure,
taking out the foods that inflame you,
yeah,
while it's very challenging because we are addicted to them, the flip
right.
side of it is rather amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I think isn't it known that like even with food allergies, whatever it is that you're allergic to, those are the things that you really gravitate toward. That's what you really want to
Right.
have. That's what. So
Right.
yeah, there it is a vicious cycle for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that when you and I do think that, there are all different types of ways of eating that people can feel their best on. So just
Mhm.
because you have success with keto and you've seen gazillion people have success with keto doesn't mean that somebody else can't have the same kind of anti-inflammatory effect with whatever they're doing, or uh, they've had success on whatever plan they have, and they actually don't even know if they followed another plan, they might feel even better. I think that that is part of the lipedema world. I think that we have to do a lot of biohacking in as
Right.
lipedema women. I think that we always have to be fine tuning how can I get to the next better step of feeling better? You know,
Right. Well, even in my own, because I've been keto for almost 6 years now, but now we're throwing menopause into the mix, and there's always tweaking that needs to happen. That what worked 3 years ago isn't working today.
right. Right, right. I think you have to be open to that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your latest keto endeavor is?
Like how I'm eating these days.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been keto, like I said, for about almost 6 years. And it was probably like 3 years ago, I did a carnivore experiment for about 6 weeks. And then when I went back to what I was doing, I really didn't
Was
bring
that,
back the veggies as much as I had planned. Say that again.
was that part of the convention?
Yeah, there was a bunch of us coaches that just kind of all did it together at the same. It was like about 3 years ago,
Yeah,
and
you got
it was
to
just
that. That's why I'm
it
asking.
was it was
That
just
was
an
like a really long time.
experiment. It
Yeah.
was about the same time as one of the as KetoCon.
Keto
I think
con.
that's about
Yeah.
when it was.
It's so
Um,
fun.
but then I went back, but not veggies to the extent that I did because I realized that my you must eat veggies every day and always have to have veggies on your plate was a cultural thing and not necessarily a nutrition thing. So then another coach that I work closely with had started doing carnivore again, and she was having some good results with her lymphedema. And I was like, I'll do it with you. Let's see what happens. And so it'll be a year for me in a few weeks for being carnivore. Um, and I wouldn't say that I'm like strict carnivore in the sense that I've never gone off of it. I mean, I made meatloaf this week and I used Primal Kitchen's ketchup on the top of it, and I used spices. And I mean, I had a salad at Thanksgiving, but it's very very small amounts. But it started out. I was gonna just do it for a month or maybe two, and here we are a year in. And then a month after I started that, another one of our keto coaches decided to do dairy free for a month. And I said, I'll do it with you because I'm already doing carnivore. What's the difference? And so I did that with her for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, she went back to her dairy, but I was like, this is pretty good. I like this. So again, I wouldn't say that I am like strict. It's not my religion to be dairy free. I actually have Parmesan cheese every once in a while. But being dairy free was actually more eye opening than being carnivore, because what I discovered was heavy cream makes me not only ravenously hungry, but it gives me like swelling and joint pain. And the way I found out about that, the hunger I discovered like within the first few days of doing it. Again, that'll be a year in July, so 11 months ago. But I let it kind of creep back in a couple of months ago because I don't really like eggs, but I discovered goose eggs. Goose eggs, if you've never had a goose egg, is way better than a chicken egg, and it's so good. So I started making goose eggs for breakfast, and I was adding a little bit of heavy cream, like maybe a tablespoon. So think about a tablespoon spread at like chicken egg size, like over like 4 eggs. It's hardly anything, especially if you're going to split that with your husband.
Right.
But I starting the ravenous hunger started up again. And then I started waking up with my hands swollen and like my skin feeling tight. And I started walking with a limp because my hip hurt. And I'm like, from a blasted tablespoon of cream.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that that's the biohacking part is like when you get to the point where your body is really functioning like the machine it was made to be, and then you realize, oh my God, these other things really do impact, like impact me. It's
yes,
I
it.
have a very responsive body,
Mm,
and um, my biggest, like, this is a dumb thing to really say, but my biggest thing lately is I have such an effect by any kind of artificial sweeteners, and it
mm,
really started with the stevia. And when I think back about 2 years ago, I went to a naturopath, and for a month, I had to like knock every possible thing out, like everything, right? So it was pretty much like a carnivore then,
mm,
okay? Couldn't have any nuts, no cheese, no anything. But I was allowed to have stevia. So I was allowed to have a stevia protein drink that I think it was not, it was like a vegetarian one or something like that. And every time I would have that thing, I would swell. But I didn't know
mm,
why because I was just like, oh, my body's crazy. Never dawned on me that it was stevia.
mm.
Um, and so like for me, if I do, like try to do keto coffee or any of that, like I have to do it. It has to be plain black because it's not
Right.
worth it to me to even have that stevia in it, and I didn't know that for a while. I kept trying and not realizing there was that, but it was amazing when I realized that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I really like about keto and carnivore is that because it removes so much that's inflammatory, when you do have something, it's pretty easy to identify what it is. And it's easy to recognize what you felt like before. And then it becomes really easy to say, yeah, cream is just a no-go for me because I really don't like limping or having, my skin feel like it's going to burst open because it's so tight.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's good. And that was one of the main reasons why I stick with carnivore is because with keto, there are a number of foods that are allowed, but yet are still not beneficial. And I would spend so much time and headspace rationalizing them, things like artificial sweeteners and things like nuts and berries. And by going carnivore, none of those are even in the discussion anymore because they're not animal products. And so it just gave me a really firm line in the sand for me. And I was like, okay, then I just don't have these. And I just feel so much better without them and without the mental negotiating of, should I? And if I have them, should I eat them all so they're not there to tempt me anymore? And all of those dysfunctional thoughts we have about food just, all of that went away.
Right. Yeah. For me, I think that a plan that is very cut and dry, simple, where you can't um, yeah, there's no negotiating. I think that that is very helpful, especially as a beginning point. You know, some
Mhm.
people say, for me, some people say, oh, like, whittle it down easily. Take out bread this week, and next week take out,
Mhm.
whatever the things are, right?
Right.
And to me, it's kind of like I personally do better where it's all or nothing. So it's like, okay,
Mhm.
no, like that's not a choice. It's not it.
Right.
And I personally actually am started carnivore this morning. I have yet to decide if it's going to be a dairy-free carnivore or not. I have a
Okay.
feeling I may go the first week, including my and then this is contrary to what I just said, but I may because there's a lot of it in the refrigerator, and we're not. Well, I want to use everything that we have before I have to go
Of
to the store.
course. Of course. And, I'm a huge fan of if it's not broken, don't fix it. So if you
Yeah.
are doing
Mhm.
keto and you are including nuts and you are having progress and you don't have pain, then don't
Yeah.
eliminate them. If you are doing Weight Watchers and you are having progress and you don't have pain, then keep doing that. But if you are at a point where you're like, I am uncomfortable. I am not satiated. I binge on the weekends. I spend mental space rationalizing things. My pain is not addressed. Then it's time to try something different.
Right. For sure.
And, there's a lot of people in the lipedema community that talk about dairy is bad for us. And I think that is also another overgeneralization that I don't think that that is the case. There are some people who are sensitive to it. I have discovered there are certain things I am sensitive to, like cream, but yet cheeses really don't bother me. And it might be because I'm not a huge cheese person, so I'm okay with just a little bit. Um, so I think versus cream, I would like all of it. So I think that there are some things that you can do, and it doesn't mean all dairy is not good for you. Again, it's all about what works for you, your body, and how that impacts your mental space too. Because the
Right.
mental game is a huge part of this.
Right. Right. And we've had so much mental game, I mean, I would imagine that I would imagine most lipedema women have been on a diet since they were.
I think we've probably been on more diets than the average woman.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think because, again, always trying, always thinking that, that's, going to change everything. And
Right.
sure, the thing
This
does,
time, this time.
yes, right. But, so I don't know the answer to this. Were you diagnosed only with lipedema, or did you have any affect of lymphedema?
No, just lipedema.
Just lipedema, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so tell us about one other question. I don't know the answer to this one either. Your family, does your family, are they keto as well, or how does that work?
So, up until about a year ago, the answer to that was absolutely not. No one in my family is. But my husband has gone keto pretty much, it's been about a year. Before that, I would have said he's kind of paleo. That he would still eat whatever carb sides I made for my kids, or my mom lives with us too. So, he would just eat whatever. And then he was like low carb plus beer when he went out once a week with his friends. Um, but pretty much for the past year, he has been keto. He is lean. He's got very much a runner's build, muscular, but he's doesn't have a weight problem. Has never had a weight problem. But yet he had like a little bit of love handles on the sides, and he also is oh, I forget, there's a word for it, but he also has like sky high cholesterol, which is familial and actually kind of normal for people with his build.
Mhm.
If anyone's ever heard of Dave Feldman falls in that same camp too, of just people, and there's a word for it, I just can't think of it. So keto was one of the things he was trying to do to make sure that his doctor wouldn't harp on him about statins, because he did take a statin for a very short amount of time that made him feel like he was on fire all the time. So that was not good. No. So that's why he was doing the keto, and his cholesterol is now, for the first time ever, in normal ranges, and those love handles are gone. But he didn't lose like a lot of weight. He just lost that little bit.
Well, he
Um,
lost the information he needed to lose. I mean,
that's right. So like I said, he really didn't lose weight. And I really do think keto is like that, because you'll find a lot of people that do it for health reasons, not for weight loss reasons, and they're not losing drastic amounts of weight. They're kind of maintaining where they are. And there are some people that use it to gain weight, which I think is just so fascinating, that we can all eat the same kinds of things and it'll have different impacts on each of our bodies depending on what we need.
right, right.
So, but yeah, my house is full of carbs because my kids are here.
And your girls are not lipedema girls?
I don't know. So my oldest, I think for sure is. She's got a body very much like mine. And my youngest might, because she's got some of the hypermobility. If she is, she's probably like a stage 0, and she might be one of those people that just kind of stays at around a stage 0. We joke every day with the new bruises that appear on her body, and we have no idea where they come from. But
For
I mean,
those of you who don't know, bruises are a hallmark, especially
yes,
on your lower body and your arms, hallmark for lipedema.
right, right. But I mean, she's like 5'3" and 120 pounds. I mean, she's not big or anything like that. So maybe, and if she does, it's like I said, it's a super early stage, and she may have to have concerns about it, if she has a baby or menopause or something like that. But I don't.
But
And
she
she's
doesn't feel,
also very atypical, that she was chunky when she was younger and then leaned out at puberty, which is very unusual for especially a female.
and she doesn't have pain.
No, no, neither one of them. And I don't either. I've never had the painfulness associated that a lot of people have. I would get heaviness, but not pain. And then heaviness more like after a lot of walking or standing, and I might get swelling with that, but otherwise, no.
Did you get like tight skin?
Um,
Where it feels like
so,
you can explode?
um,
Do you have a clock on your whatever you're looking at?
yeah, it's 4:35 on
Okay.
my in Atlanta.
So
So, so one of my other careers is I work as a travel agent, which really does not do well right now. But my specialty is Disney. So when we would go to Disney World, which we would go a lot, in standing in line and walking the parks, yeah, I would get some swelling from that. But it's ridiculously humid, and I'm on my feet I was walking 15 miles. So yeah, but it would go away like overnight, and then it would come back again the next day because I do it all again. And then it was gone, pretty much, if we drove, I mean, that's like a 7-hour drive, it would always swell. But for sitting for ridiculously long amounts of time too. But otherwise, no. Really only Disney World made it swell.
interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I always had swelling with sitting. Even now, I'm not a good sitter.
You're not
It's not.
supposed to. Our bodies are not meant to sit.
Yeah, I like to be in constant motion, and I think that's really part of why is that,
Mm-hmm.
sit and then I swell. Um, and I don't think that I have the type of pain like to the touch that some women have, but I do
Right.
realize that I have underlying pain that I don't realize I have because I just keep going, I just keep going. But
Right.
I have had times where I feel like, like it feels very tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have, um, where it just feels very heavy. And, there are
Right.
certain
Well,
times that I realize that.
so I
But
have a
that's,
family.
that is, I have to say now, in these past 3 years, when I've been, indulging in things that I want to and that kind of thing. I too have a very immediate reaction from alcohol. I'm not a big drinker, but
Mm-hmm.
probably in the past 3 years, I've had more alcohol than I've had in my entire life, like cumulatively over my life. So it's kind of a funny, situation of, yeah. So anyway, but it's not something that I miss if I don't have. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky in that way.
Right, right. Well, as far as pain goes, I have a familial history of arthritis. My
Hmm.
mom has it. Both of my grandmothers had it. Everyone's had their knees and hips replaced. And then I have an uncle that had juvenile arthritis, so he had it since he was 2. So I used to, at 400 pounds, think I must have arthritis because my joints hurt. But then when it went away, I'm like, yeah, I didn't
Hmm.
have arthritis. And then I also had plantar fasciitis, which also went away with keto. So it's amazing how many things that we attribute to that we can put a name on it, but changing your food can make a huge difference in your inflammation levels, and those things can change.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in food as medicine, and if we would
Oh,
all
sure. Yes.
get to I was on a webinar the other day where the doctor was from another country, and he was dreaming of the day when there would be like everybody would have their own food plan, and we would know that you, Katrina, should do keto carnivore, and Susie should do plant-based, and I should do keto with dairy, like I mean
Mm-hmm.
that you could just be told and then you could follow that and there wouldn't be guessing and trial and error and whatever. And so he thought that day would come. I think it's possible. I think there's so much testing that really you could refine and refine and refine, let alone trial and error. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that information is coming. Um, so
We shall see. I think, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat and say if there's not money in it, though, it's never going to happen.
well, it would create a whole new industry, right?
Maybe.
You know, I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows? But I hear you on that, right? So tell me how so go back, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years. You're 400 pounds. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're going to switch to this keto. You start out, and then at what point do you add exercise?
So when I
Or
started, I never,
were you already exercising?
oh,
I mean,
heck no. No,
okay,
absolutely not. So when I started, I didn't even know the word keto. I knew Atkins, and I knew that that was one of the things that I could do and do well. And I did better on that than I did on Weight Watchers. It was so funny, again, my dysfunctional brain. I'm like, I wonder if I could do like a week of Atkins and do Weight Watchers on the weekends so I could eat junk. Used to rationalize all of these crazy things, but I didn't do that.
right.
So anyway, I probably was on keto for about 6 months before I joined the gym, and I had lost about 70 pounds in those 6 months because I was 330 pounds when I joined the gym. And on the same day I joined the gym, I hired a trainer. And I knew going in that I didn't want to do cardio because I don't like to get sweaty. And we live in the South, and the South is not flat. It's full of hills. And I still don't. I'm not going to my neighborhood for a walk because it's all uphill and that's not fun to me. So what I wanted to do was lift weights and get strong and build muscle. And I knew that so when you do cardio exercise, you burn while you do it. Then it stops when you stop. But if you are doing weightlifting, you are building muscle. And when you build muscle, you tear muscle in order to do that. So when you tear, your body focuses energy on repairing and building. So that means that you burn fat 24/7, even while you were asleep, as your body uses that fuel to work on your muscles. So I'm like, I would like to burn fat when I'm asleep. So that's what I hired my trainers, like, this is what I want to do. And that is what we did. And so she's starting though with someone who has never exercised on purpose. And, I was 45 and I weighed 330 pounds. So we didn't even do core for another 6 months because I couldn't get on I could get on the floor, but I couldn't get back up. So, she really worked with me. She knew when to push and when to be like, okay, you're good, you've done enough. And she was fantastic. And I worked with her for a year before I started kind of doing it on my own. It's one of the best things I ever did. And what bodybuilding is going to do for you, it is not going to make you lose weight. It's, if anything, it might even make you gain weight, but it is going to completely change your body composition so that you look leaner even if you've gained weight. And
Right.
I'm so glad I put that in, when I did.
Right. Like for me, I typically do weights. I maybe
Mm-hmm.
a little cardio, but it's like incidental. Yeah, I do walks and that kind of thing, but it's not like as consistent as my weight training had been.
Mm-hmm.
And through this lockdown, I have not been doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've done like, the weekly walk or, an occasional workout, like that kind of thing, but it's all been very whatever. And my body is legitimately, well, as of today, legitimately, it was 2 pounds more than when we started lockdown. So
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, that's nothing. But I feel like I'm very fluffy, like
Right.
way different. Now, I've been doing some different therapies, so maybe it's made things looser and, you know, whatever, but I feel like I feel, to me, it looks different. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's because that tightness is not there and it's not, maybe that now that little, today, whatever, if I weighed myself 2 days ago, I wouldn't have had the 2 pounds. So it's like, just that's how crazy my system is. Um, but I think that it's, maybe the trade out of like whatever I really did gain is because the muscle loss. And so it's just equaled out, that's why the look is different. But yeah, it's kind of fascinating because I have always done the same thing with really focused on the weights because of your more bang for your buck, for sure.
Right. Right. So I haven't been to the gym in 3 months. But what I am doing is body weight exercises. Let me tell you, those are really hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have really improved my core strength. I've been doing some yoga, and I feel like when I do go back to the gym, it's going to be a game changer because my core is so strong now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, along with my carnivore, well, because we're still on lockdown here, so I am going to change to doing 2 consistent workouts per week for sure. I'll
Good.
probably add more, but those are a given. I'm going to do those as part of Lipedema Month on Wednesdays and Fridays live.
Great.
Um, and then I am also going to add in the walking because I have a brother who's a doctor, and he would say, Beth, walking is weight training for you. Because you're dragging all of this around. He's like, do you see people when they go out and they wear those backpacks or they wear those vests or whatever? They are adding weight to their body. So you don't worry that this is not a weight training exercise as well.
Yeah, I think about that. Like, do you ever do the weights like where you have your arms out to your side and you've got, your it's working really like shoulders in this area, like whether you're doing the arm raises or yeah, or like that. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I swear these lipedema arms are making it so much harder to
yeah,
do.
no,
Yes.
that's true. Yeah. And what about pool work? Do you ever do pool work?
So we have a neighborhood pool that is open this summer, and I have not gone yet. But I love adult swim because I like to do lunges in the pool because they're so much easier than on land.
Yeah.
So I can usually do 15 minutes straight of lunges. What's exciting is because of social distancing and cleanliness, we now have a 20-minute adult swim. So I can't wait to go do lunges for 20 minutes instead of 15. But
Nice.
regular pool work, no, I don't. Just it's hard enough to find just regular gym time, and I'd rather lift heavy stuff than get in the pool. But I love to
Yeah.
be in the water, but I just don't do it as exercise. I like to get in there and like float and read my book.
So, yeah. No, I like to get in and jump around and make sure that I'm getting all that lymphatic
Right.
massage that goes on with that. It's one of the only
Yes.
things that actually changes my fibro. I'm very fibrotic. It changes
Mm-hmm.
my tissue to make it soft. It's one of the only that and the vibration plate for me. I think I'm finding the same results with dry brushing and maybe some reflexology mixed in. But yeah, so for me, that's kind of like essential. So all the things like I would never do a rebounder because I'm too scared of that, but I can jump for like I could jump for an hour in the pool, like I'm getting that same thing. Plus, I'm getting
Right.
my massages. I feel like it's a double win.
Right.
My
Right.
really that, yeah,
Yeah, I love being in the pool. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of conservative treatments that you can do besides food and, dry brushing and vibration and pumping and compression and water aerobics, and there's a lot of options of things that you can do, but I think the main thing is you can't run away from bad food. You can't eat inflammatory foods and hope that those conservative treatments are going to do anything for you.
right, absolutely. That's very well. I mean, I'm an example of that. Um, I have not. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, and for me, it will be fascinating to see what happens in 30 days of how less fibrotic my tissue will be. And it will
Mm-hmm.
be very interesting because is it going to be simply because I did carnivore? Is it going to be because I'm in the pool every day? Is it going to be because I'm doing that and vibration and dry brushing and some reflex? Is it going to be,
Right.
but whatever works, it doesn't really matter,
Right.
Um, I think that that's the other thing. I think that it has to be uh, I don't know, 5 to 10 pronged approach. I don't think you can get off of, yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that that's just that's just the reality. And yeah, I don't know. I think that obviously we have learned tenacity and those of us who are doers and goers and seekers and let me try the next thing, there's no grass growing under our feet. We're gonna do whatever we have to do to manage it.
Right.
And that
But I would say, 7 years ago, that wasn't me.
right,
That I think that, having some success and getting where your body feels good allows you to go, okay, I can have control over the way that I feel. This is not just something that happens to me, that you can be an active participant in your own life.
right,
And I mean, for me, that was keto. That made all of the difference for me because I never felt it with anything else I did.
right, right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, yeah. Well, and I think that there also has to be a mind shift of I'm just a big proponent on you have to embrace where you are, right?
Oh,
So,
sure, because you
mhm,
are not. Hey, there's no change that's going to happen from a place of hate. So if you hate you and hate your body, you're
right,
not going to change it coming from there. You need to learn to be like, okay, this is who I am, and there's nothing wrong with loving you and wanting to change you.
exactly, for sure. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think acceptance is key. I think for many women, when they get that diagnosis, it's such a mind trip. Um,
Yes. And they get so depressed.
and it's, so many people think that, with surgical, um, uh, intervention as the only way to get rid of it officially at this moment. I know there's some trials underway that may change that, but
But
I
even
think
that,
that,
I would say it really isn't because there are, it depends on how skilled and how aggressive your surgeon is as to whether or not they get it all.
of
Because for
course,
some women, it becomes worse, or now it's no longer in their legs, now it's in their abdomen.
right, for sure, absolutely, yeah. I mean that, yes, obviously surgical, yes. I shouldn't say obviously. Surgical intervention certainly has its
It's
merits, and it
not the
also has
cure.
its
It's
problems.
not.
It has its problems, for sure, absolutely.
Mm.
I have a friend who is a wellness guru, and he was adamant that I actually start with Chinese medicine, like like basically like go to China for the guru of the gurus kind of thing, before I would even consider surgery. Because he's like, what happens after you have surgery? Because yeah, you have it out, but guess what? Your system still created it. So
Mm.
how is your system going to move forward? You still have the same system, just because it's not there. What
Right,
are you going to do to change your system so that your
right.
system acts and thinks differently? Because what is the root cause? And so, I mean, he made a lot of sense on that for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that I have ruled out. But like I said, embrace where you're at. I'm happy to
Right,
be doing what I'm doing at the moment, and then
right.
we see where that builds from. I never think that uh, I never think the train's going to stop. It's always going to be some kind of refinement.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that everyone needs to understand that. And it doesn't matter whether you have lipedema or not, that you don't ever cross the finish line, that you're not ever done. That if there are foods that inflame you, that when you lose your weight, say you get to goal, that doesn't mean you can go back to the inflammatory food. You're just never done.
right, right.
Your health
Yeah,
journey is your life journey.
for sure. Yeah. That's why it's called the journey, right?
Yes. Yep. And that's what it's about, is all the steps to, in the direction you want to head in, which is better health.
Right,
You're not done, you don't finish, you're always going to have to tweak.
right, right. Which I think, for me personally, that was a shock. Like I
Mm.
thought that I was the person. Like I used to not, even 3 years ago when I worked out with a trainer, he would like to go to the park, and I'd be like, hell no, I'm not going to the park. I'm not going to go in public for people to see me. And we came to this realization that I have always thought that if you're um, working out in public, that you're kind of like showing off. This was my
Ah. Mm.
interpretation. And I'm not a show off. And so I was like, and and that if you appear to be fit and thin and in shape, you're that way. It's not because you're taking care of yourself on a daily basis.
Right.
And um, but I have a completely different thought pattern now, and it's just um, it's amazing how I now know that no, no, everybody works. Everybody works if they're in, and really that's part of your health journey, is you're actually taking care of yourself, and that's a big
Mm.
piece,
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure.
you know.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a big part of my journey is changing that whole mindset and realizing that I don't finish.
Hmm.
that we are always works in progress.
Right, right, right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And that's why I kind of that my mantras for the year are embrace and accept, because I believe that
Mm-hmm.
acceptance is key. But my whole thing is that everybody has something that they have to accept,
Right.
right? They have to, um, what all of us have to accept that we're in this we've been in this lockdown. Like this is a
Mm-hmm.
whole nobody could have seen this coming a mile away.
Right.
Um, and so, but where is it? Uh, we have to embrace that, is what I was trying to say. I don't think I said that. Well, we have to embrace the fact that we're in this different scenario, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have to accept that that's where we are right now. But that doesn't mean that that's where we have to be. But, we
Mm-hmm.
can learn to work within that, while embracing our current situation and then move on from there.
Right.
I think it's a big piece. Okay, I feel
Right.
like we have about 5 minutes. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, any major tidbits you want to share? Anything you think we left out? Anything you think?
Um, Let me think. So I think that it's really important to find your tribe. That whether it is, other ladies with lipedema, other people that follow the same eating pattern that you do, anything or both, it is to find that support system of the like-mindedness so that you have someone to cheer for and you have people that are cheering for you. I think it's really, really important to find that as part of your journey. And so I'm so thrilled to be a part of so many different tribes that have these overlapping pieces in it, and it makes a world of difference.
Absolutely, yes. And I think that it makes you feel not alone, you know,
Right. Right.
right? Um, yeah, I think as lipedema women, I think many of us have felt very alone, um,
Mm,
for parts of our journey.
right. Which is
Um,
so ironic to me because I see it everywhere. I think
I know.
there's, I think the numbers of us are like astronomical, but I
Yeah.
think we are very much alone as far as the medical community is concerned. I think there's so much bias in the medical community about women, and especially
Yeah.
women that are fat. And there's a lot of in that whole industry, pharmaceuticals and everything, that we are very much marginalized. And so finding other strong women and women that are making changes and that are doers, find out what they're doing and figure out what might work for you.
Absolutely. Yes. I 100% wholeheartedly agree. And I think, you know, I'm going to speak for both of us. I think that anybody who is watching, if you have any questions, comments, concern, want to add us to your tribe, please, please reach out to us.
Mm,
Both Katrina and I are certainly, we're out there on the trail trying to create awareness and trying to help women better their lives. And so, yeah, we would really love to hear from you. I
absolutely.
obviously I'm at Curvy Girl Beth. Katrina's at keto.katrina.
Mm-hmm.
And then for lipedema women who are on Instagram and just learning about it or need more information, there are a plethora of groups that are over on Facebook, that if you just look up what they are. Katrina, what is the group that you run? What's the name of that one? That
Oh, it's
is.
got a super long name. So if you can't find it, please feel free to message me and I can send you the direct link. But if you look up ketogenic nutrition for, I think it's lipedema, lymphedema, and lipolymphedema. It's like
Okay.
it's super long. But yeah,
Okay.
ketogenic nutrition for lipedema would be like the short version of it.
Okay.
But we've got a group over there, and Kimmy Caddy, who is a clinical nutritionist from Australia, she and I run it together, and she has both lipedema and lymphedema.